haven't heard anything, seen anything. Supposedly it is.
We don't even know. So that picks us up.
Yes.
Is everybody said that's picking us up?
It is.
A lot.
Extremely better.
Good.
Yes.
You watch it?
My parents do it when they call me.
Just checking. Maybe you want to do that.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. We'll start with our pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everyone. We're proud here today. Good to see you. We'll start with the minutes from the prior meeting, March 11th meeting. For a motion to approve those.
I'll make that motion, Dave.
I second it.
Motion made by Lynn and seconded by Jackie to approve the March 11th, 2019 regular council meeting minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any additions to the agenda? We do have one. We have a request from Morrison County to identify the people that we're authorizing to charge things to them. So I would look to add that at the end of the golf course rates and camping. Anything else, Nicole?
Nope, I do not have any.
Anybody else have anything?
I'll make the motion to approve the new
Revised
agenda.
agenda. Motion is made by Donnie to approve the revised agenda. All in favor? Or anybody
I second.
Kyle will second it.
Okay.
All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, first thing on the agenda is Poppy proclamation. We have a proclamation. Kyle, would you like to read it or would you like Kyle to read it?
Well, otherwise I would give you these, and then we'll just come out there later,
Okay.
or whatever.
Yeah, we can take it. We can sign
Sure.
it for you.
Sure.
Just have, if you won't mind reading it.
You want me to read it? Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas the American Legion Auxiliary has adopted the poppy as their commemorative symbol, and whereas the memorial poppy assembled by disabled veterans pays respectful tribute to those killed in war and also benefits living veterans and their families, and whereas public donations for poppies find rehabilitation programs which each local community that benefit veterans, their families, and ultimately our state and nation. Now therefore, I, Dave Fisher, Mayor of Pierz, Minnesota, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2019 to be Poppy Month in Pierz. Further, I urge citizens to wear a memorial poppy as a symbol of their deep appreciation for the service rendered by our nation's veterans.
Look for a motion to approve May being the Poppy Seed Month.
I'll make a motion to approve May as Poppy Month.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Kyle, seconded by Jackie to identify May as Poppy Month. All in favor, signify by
Aye.
stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Did you like want anything else?
We would like to do a picture with you, and we'll have it put in the paper.
Okay. Do I do that right now? Why don't we take a short recess and do that? We'll take about a 2-minute recess and do the picture work, and then we'll be right back. You want to do it here or where you? Okay.
In front of the sign. We could stand behind you.
Okay.
Just look like you're signing.
Sure.
No, kind of the city of Pierz side behind you, good thinking.
Yes.
The meeting back into order. Part of the situation is you're requesting use of the shelter on July 25th, 2019. And we've checked with Bob, that date is available.
July
And we were
25th,
going
right.
to donate them to them for at no charge, is what they are requesting.
I make the motion to do it.
Good to see you.
Motion's been made by Donnie to allow them to have the shelter on July 25th, seconded by Kyle. All in favor indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Very good. Thank you very much. Appreciate what you guys do.
ladies.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Winner. Audit time. Come on up. You come on up and have a chair.
This is the moment you've been waiting for all these years.
We've been waiting for 6 months for this.
So, if you all remember last year, we took a different format. Instead of flipping through all the financial statements, I prepared a summary for you all. Same format this year. We're going to go through a summary. If you have any questions beyond that, we'll kind of do a deeper dive, but we'll start with this. Sound good? Okay. So, just to start, we'll start by talking about the opinion we give in an audit, because if you all think about it, what we do as an auditor is we go through, we look at your transactions, we look at what you all going on, and the purpose of all of that is that we want to prove that what you say actually happened really happened. At the end of this audit process, what we do is we give our opinion on whether we think your numbers are correct. And so the opinion that we give to you all is called an unmodified opinion. It's a clean opinion, so that's the one you want. That's us saying that we think your numbers are good. Also included in this auditor's report that we're kind of talking about is something we call basis of accounting. So in the state of Minnesota, the state auditor allows smaller cities with populations of 2,500 or less, to report under what they call the regulatory basis of accounting, but really what that means is the cash basis of accounting. So we're not recording things like accounts payable, accounts receivable, long-term debt, capital asset values. Okay? Just cash in, cash out. And the state wants that for you all, or they allow that for you all. If we look at how the audit process went, so when we're going through, we're looking at your transactions, we're dealing with your management team, it went really well. So we had no issues with your accounting policies. We saw no unusual transactions, fraudulent looking transactions. We're looking for things like mysterious checks written out to the city administrator or to council members or that sort of thing. Nothing like that. Everything looked really good. No unusual transactions. In terms of estimates, because you follow that cash basis of accounting, cash in, cash out, there really are none. And no new accounting standards this year, so pretty easy year. And it went really well working with your management team, so when we asked for things from them, they gave it to us. We asked questions, we didn't think they were lying to us or anything like that. They were quick to respond to us and gave us what we needed, so we had a pretty smooth process for the audit. And as part of the audit process, you're aware that we take a look at your processes and your internal controls. And really what we do for that is we take a look at those processes and controls up front before we even come out and do your audit. So we use that information to help design what we're going to actually look at, because if you think of an audit, we're not looking at every scrap of paper that you all have. We're taking a more risk-based approach. So what's riskier and what's not. The controls that you have play into that. And so the stronger controls you have, the more we can rely on, the less we maybe can audit. But because you have a small accounting staff here, we have to report to you all that you've got a lack of segregation of duties in your internal controls. And it plays into the audit a little bit. It affects what we're looking at during the audit. There's actually 3 different levels of internal controls we can report on. So the lowest level would be a control deficiency. That would be, okay, there's something going on with your controls that you could probably improve on, but not really significant. The next level up from that's what's called a significant deficiency, which means, yeah, you probably got a problem with your controls here, but it's not the worst that could happen. The highest is a material weakness, and what a material weakness means is that something could pass through your accounting system that's very material in dollar amount and go unnoticed by council and the mayor. Okay, that's the material weakness. The internal controls related to segregation of duties is what we consider a material weakness, because you've got a small staff, there's a lot of access that they have to the system. They can manipulate things and push it through, and so that's what we're reporting as a material weakness for that. Other internal control related items, material weakness also, is that we propose material adjustments to you all when we're going through the audit. And so these are actually pretty similar to what we've proposed in the past. Some work related to some TIF dollars, some work related to adjusting some payroll withholdings, that sort of thing. Nothing really too unusual, but because they're material and dollar amount, they get reported here. And other internal control related items, we wrote your financials for you. And that's actually not the material weakness level, that's been downgraded to what we call significant deficiency. Significant deficiency sounds really bad, but it's really not as bad as it maybe sounds. Okay. Other items we look at during the audit are compliance with Minnesota statutes. So, for example, some things we look at are you bidding the way you're supposed to be bidding? And getting quotes when you're supposed to get quotes? Are you handling EFTs the way you're supposed to be? Are you handling grants and donations the way that they're supposed to be handled? Another thing we look at is whether you have enough collateral on your bank account. So you hold money at the bank over FDIC limits, and they have to pledge collateral to ensure that the bank goes under, you're covered. Okay. You were actually a little bit below on your collateral coverage at the end at December 31st, about $38,000 of unprotected dollars. So it gets recorded in here as a finding. In terms of significance, we see it quite a bit. State auditor's not going to come knocking on your door unless you do this year after year after year. Then you might get a letter saying, hey, listen to your auditor and get more collateral. Okay, but it hasn't been an issue for you in the past. Okay, we got to look at some numbers here. This is your general fund, and it's very, very big picture. So if we want to get into more detail, we sure can. We can dive into the detail here, but big picture, if we look at the format here, we've got 2018, which is the second to last column on the chart, and then we've got your budget, which is kind of the shaded column on the chart. If we look at your cash receipts first, cash coming in, cash receipts was above budget by about $90,000 or so. And really, if you looked at the detail here, you'd see that this is pretty much across all categories, but some specific areas where it was higher than budget are licenses and permits collections, and some what we call intergovernmental receipts, or dollars coming from the state. And specifically what that is some small cities assistance dollars that you all received this year that you hadn't budgeted for. In terms of spending was below budget, so revenue's high, spending low. Spending came in at $680,000 when you had budgeted $820,000. Most of this is some capital outlay type purchases that you budgeted for but didn't happen. Okay. From there we have another line, other sources and uses. This is transfers. You all had a transfer out to the electric fund this year, and the backstory behind all this is if you rewind back and remember last year's transactions, you all had purchased some land in the golf course, and that was funded through the electric fund partially. The electric fund loaned some money to there. Well, as a part of that money coming out of the electric fund got doubled up as a transfer and loan, and some of it went into the general fund. And so those dollars are being transferred back again to reimburse the electric fund for that. We actually just chatted about that about an hour or two ago. So those dollars are going back into the electric fund to basically make it whole. So at the end of the year, you had a decrease in fund balance of $56,000. If we were to add back that transfer, you all had a very good year. You had maybe an increase of about $150,000 in the general fund. And your ending fund balance at the end of the year is about $1.32 million. If you were to drill down on that, you'd see that about $450,000 of that, or $460,000 is set aside for a specific use. Most of that's assigned for capital projects type uses. The unassigned balance is about $866,000. And that's what we're going to look at on the next page, actually. So if we look at that unassigned fund balance, what's available just for discretionary spending for the general fund in your city, relative to the size of your city, works out to be about 105% of a year's expenditures. So you've got a nice healthy fund balance in the general fund, even factoring out some of those set-aside dollars. That's kind of the takeaway here. You don't have a policy on what you want that target to be. Some cities do, but looking at the numbers here, you've got a pretty healthy fund balance in your general fund. And in terms of cash in the general fund, cash at the end of the year is about $1.3 million. That's increased generally over the last 5 years. pretty significantly, actually. Looking at the remaining funds, governmental type funds in your city, fire funds split out separately because it's a little bigger. Fire funds had receipts of $163,000 coming in. You spent about $167,000. You had a transfer coming in from another fund. Overall, the fund increased by $10,000. And that has an ending fund balance of $189,000, so just over a year's expenditures in that fund as well. We've got 3 other categories here. Capital projects funds, which is really the Robert Park Fund, which had an increase in fund balance of about $8,000. That fund was in a deficit last year, and it's still in a deficit, but it's moving in the right direction, and this is all kind of planned with this fund. The next column over debt service, this is really your TIP activity. TIP activity had an increase in fund balance of $48,000. Ending fund balance for all the funds combined is $11,000. All those fund balances are positive in those TIP funds, other than the new one, the Essential Health Fund, that has a deficit of $500, so pretty minor. And that'll change once it kind of kickstarts here. And then we've got some, special revenue funds, which is really your small cities development fund and your EDA. Not a lot of activity here, mostly loan dollars coming back into the city. That increased $15,000 this year. And in terms of cash is growing for your special revenue funds, so EDA, the Small Cities Grant Fund, and it's growing in the Fire Fund. Other funds have been kind of steadily decreasing or holding steady. Okay, we're going to look at the next set of funds for your city, which are the business type funds, enterprise funds, proprietary funds, whatever you want to call them. They get called all those things in our world, but we'll start with the electric fund first. Electric fund had an increase, we call it operating income now because this is really more like a small business run by the city. We had operating income of $54,000, so your service charges minus your operating costs netted you $54,000. From there we have some non-operating activities of $213,000. The bulk of that is that transfer coming in from the general fund, $195,000 of it is. We had a $15,000 transfer out to the fire fund that we saw earlier. Overall, an increase in fund balance or cash assets, whatever we want to call it on this page, is $253,000. And that has a net ending cash asset value of $1.66 million. So this fund has historically done very well, and this year is no exception. Looking at the golf course next. Golf course, you can see if you look at that purple line there, you can see that dip down. That's the land purchase that happened last year. We'll kind of ignore that for a second here. Looking at it operationally, we had operating receipts or dollars coming in of $282,000, operating spending of $296,000. So you actually had an operating loss this year in the golf course by $14,000. Most of this is driven by an increase in your cost of sales. If you were to look at the numbers side by side. The downfall to having this cash basis of reporting without reporting things like accounts receivable, accounts payable, is you get fluctuations sometimes in the spending based on when things are bought and when things are, dollars coming in and out. And so we see a little bit of that here. I'm not saying that's necessarily the case here, but my suspicion is if we were to drill down here, we'd see some of that going on. Beyond that, we've got some non-operating dollars coming in. A lot of this is interest on your cash. We've got some non-operating disbursements. Overall, cash went down $59,000 in the golf course fund. And the ending cash balance is $10,000.
Is it possible that non-operating disbursement of $58,000, is that the mower purchase or something like that?
Yeah, capital outlay. That's exactly what it is. Stormwater fund's been pretty steady. Operating income of $41,000, which is right in line with what you've experienced in the past. You've got some non-operating disbursements of $39,000. 35 of that's your debt payments. Overall, cash changed by $2,500 on this fund. This is a pretty small fund. And solid waste was pretty steady with what you've experienced in the past as well. Operating income of $12,000. You had some grant dollars coming in, some investment income coming in, totaling about $5,000. Ending change in net position here is $17,000. And looking at cash in these funds, cash has been relatively steady other than that land purchase that happened. If we were to park that and set it aside, ignore it, you'd see cash is relatively steady other than the golf course kind of going down as well. And that's also related to the land purchase partially. In terms of debt, you're paying down your debt just like you have in the past. The city's been historically pretty conservative with debt, and you can see that on this page because in your governmental funds, you've got $154,000 of debt. Business type funds, $150,000 of debt. If we were to compare you to other similar sized cities that we see, your debt level is quite a bit lower. In last year's report, we had a recommendation, a couple recommendations actually related to your TIF funds. You had a TIF that was decertified, that you had to ship that money back to the county, and you took care of that this year. And you had a TIF that had overpaid a developer in the past, and you took care of that this year as well. So those are both cleared up. New recommendations for this year, you've got a TIF district that was decertified. After it was decertified for one reason or another, you got a little bit more increment sent over your way from the county, so you got to ship that back to them now. Questions at all?
Very good job.
Thank you.
I really like the short version,
Yeah.
which you did last year and this year.
Makes it easy to follow.
And you did a very good job of going through it, and very easy to understand. Right, Mr. Accountant?
That was right on base.
Okay.
If you think of anything after the fact, my info is right on the last page there.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, John. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet.
We need a motion to accept that, the report. Okay, would you entertain that motion?
I'll make that vote.
And I'll second it.
Motion by Donnie to accept the auditor's report, seconded by Lynn. All in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks again, John.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Good
Have a
night.
You too.
Next on the list, we have the Mille Lacs Health System donation request. There, in your packet, you should have seen a letter on it. Way ahead now. What I understand is they're adding on to their facility, and they're asking for a donation. I did not see a specific donation amount in there. So, throw that up for discussion. One of the things we had talked about is just how much we have been donating lately. And Nicole did do a sheet for us showing what we budgeted. We budgeted a total of $9,475, and we've already spent $6,375, leaving $3,100 left. We also have some requests coming in that we haven't acted on. We're going to have another request coming in yet tonight from Oktoberfest also. So, thoughts?
Is there a way to hold off or table it until our next meeting to see what else have we donated to them before?
We have not donated to them before, and this is a building project, so obviously they're just getting started with the building project. So that's why, we haven't heard from them. I guess my thoughts on it is I don't know why we'd be donating to Mille Lacs Area Health System.
It's Mille Lacs County, it's
It's
out
Mille
of
Lacs
our
County,
area.
it's not our
They
county.
don't doctor here. I mean, there's
No, we do not have a clinic here.
We don't have-
I think the closest one is like the Hillman, Onamia area.
Hillman one, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thoughts. Agree to disagree or whatever you'd like on that.
Yeah, I guess I don't know how many people in our community or our area use Mille Lacs Health System or not. I would
I don't think the number's that great.
I guess without anything in front of me, it's hard to say one way or the other, but yeah, I guess it surprised me to see it in there.
It came through the mail and it's your
Yeah.
guys' decision to make, so.
Yeah, they're out there scrounging around trying to find it wherever they can get it.
I'm sure they are.
The wider they go, if they can get anything, they're happy, but.
Yeah. I think we've had a lot of requests lately from a lot more local,
Mhm.
and we're already starting to talk about if we can even,
Handle all of
limit
those.
those and who we can all do, so I think we
And I
probably
thought we
should,
did to our local.
I think we should focus on local.
I agree.
We need a motion if we're going to, so if, we do want to make a motion to either table it or to decline it at this time.
I'll make a motion to decline the donation request from the Lax Health System at this time.
And I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to decline the request from the Lax Health System. Made by Kyle, seconded by Donnie. All in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Which takes us into another request from the Oktoberfest donation. We have in the past years, we've donated $1,000 to them. They're telling us their account's running low. They're asking for $1,500 this year. Last couple of years, we've actually donated $1,000 to them. My understanding is they've upped that request to other entities as well.
Yes.
So,
Now, when we go back on what we budgeted for the 1,000.
yes. Yes, we budgeted 1,000 for that because what we usually budget is what we've done the year before, so. And this is something we talked about in our workshop a little bit, about having a set policy on that. Maybe we need to, only give what was requested the year before and
Because that's what
give
we
the
budgeted.
increase the
but-
following year,
And then-
yeah.
And then let's budget 500 more for next year.
1,500 next year for, yeah.
I think we talked about that, and we also talked about with so many donation requests coming in, we might have to stagger which ones we give to every year.
Yeah.
We might have to do an every other year thing.
Yeah.
It seems to
Yeah,
be growing since
I
I've
mean-
been here the last couple of years. They seem to really be growing, so.
And to be clear, we're donating taxpayer money. So it's not like or enterprise money, whichever way you want to look at it, but the bottom line, it's coming from our residents, so.
So what do we have left in
What
the
do we have
budget
left?
there, Dave? Is that what you
We have
there?
3,100 left yet. We haven't heard from first
And
response.
we won't be coming, so we're okay there. No.
Community development,
I think that was
It's
a
a one-time.
one time. Fire relief, Oktoberfest.
And that's kind of a wash through, so they pay us, we pay it out, but it's reflected in our balance.
Okay,
We did okay.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
okay. You okay the 1,500?
Yeah.
Okay. Horizon Health.
So the fire
Sportsman's Club.
relief is giving
Morrison-
1,500 to Oktoberfest.
I'm not sure if Morrison County Sportsmanship was a
They were doing a building.
sportsman's
I
club,
think that's
because they
what
did a
I paid.
building,
They
so I
did
don't know if that was
That
a
was.
one-time
Yep.
deal or not.
That was the first time they came to us, right?
I think it
Yes.
was,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. 'Cause they normally run their own charitable gambling. So,
My thing is, I think like Oktoberfest is kind of our thing.
yeah.
And so like, I feel like it draws so many people
It-
from
it-
Little Falls and
yes.
Buckman and Hillman and Lastrip and, I mean, even people from Brainerd come into town. And so I would hate to not have
It is
the
a
fun.
community thing, there's no
Yeah,
question
it's a
about that,
huge-
absolutely. Yep,
I
yep.
mean,
Well, and I think we've identified from the list a lot of what's on there.
Yep.
Will not probably be coming back for.
right.
Right.
How much of that aren't coming back? You know, just quick.
Well,
31.
it looks like,
They talked about
So if they did
probably.
1,500, you have to minus 1,500 from that, and then if we do 1,000 or 15.
community
Those are the two main
development, I'm
ones
not
that-
sure.
Would that'd be it then, if we
Yeah.
gave?
We
Community
did Freedom
development
Fest
didn't
yet?
come last year
Yeah,
either,
Freedom Fest was
so
done.
fire relief, Horizon Health will probably come yet. So we'd still have about $1,500.
16. if
Morrison
we
County
give
doesn't
the-
come, Morrison County Fair, miscellaneous, we might have surprises. I'm more inclined to give to the Oktoberfest than I would be to out-of-town things.
Yeah,
I would agree.
So,
I agree.
okay.
I think if we have the 3,100 left and we gave the 1,500, we have about 1,600 left, so. It's hard because it's only March, you know?
In 9 months, but most of the people that have come in the past have come. Okay. I would look for a motion either way.
I motion we do the 1,500.
Motion to be made by Jackie to donate 1,500 to the Oktoberfest committee. Seconded by?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Kyle. All in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Golf course rates. Actually, what we're talking here is camping. We've added electric to all the campsites now, so we're raising the electric campsites up from $20 to $35.
Just the tent. We're
Just
we're-
a tent.
Well,
Tent.
we're no longer gonna have tent camping, it's all gonna be just camping.
Yeah. So, and we're raising that up to 35.
35,
And then
which
the-
is standard.
Yep. And then the seasonal is going up to $17.50, which is what we decided a year ago when we did the incremental raises. And that also includes a punch card to the golf course.
And we added the primitive camping, so if you go on the new land and camp, it's $20. It's
Yeah.
because there's no hookups or anything.
Right. And the primitive is $20. That's in the new land. So, and this was the fees that were recommended by the park board. So, I would entertain a motion for those, either
I'll
way.
make that motion to approve them.
Motion's been made by Lynn to approve the
I'll
camping
second
park,
that.
camping rates. Seconded by Donnie. All in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on to authorized personnel for Morrison County. Okay, we got a letter, Nicole got this letter just today. Basically what they're asking is for a list of our employees that we are authorizing to charge purchases from Morrison Public Works for our city or township. In this case, it's our city. Also encloses a copy of the list, which we currently have on file.
I updated it, sorry.
That's not here, that's fine. But the people that we're putting on are Bob Otremba, or Robert Otremba, Nicole Smoody, Eric Hennigan, and Zach. I don't think we need anybody else.
The only people who probably purchase it is Bob and Zach, I would assume. but-
Are usually the ones, yeah. So, a motion to
I
accept.
motion to approve.
A motion been made by Jackie to accept the list of people authorized to purchase from Morrison County. Seconded by?
I'll second.
Seconded by Kyle. All in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously. That takes us to Chris Young, Fire Department. Come on up. Oh, we're fine, how are you?
Good. We've got our 5 new members that have completed their training, everything that's been required of them. They've all finished their firefighter 1 and 2 and hazmat. They've completed their first year. So it would be my recommendation to take them off of their probationary status and be full members of the department.
Come on.
Be able to drive trucks and after burning buildings.
Who are those 5 for the record, Chris?
Scott's there,
Okay.
Darvin's there. John Stump. Dustin Betzinger.
Was Dustin on a fire department before?
He was not.
Yeah, before when he was at Brainerd, he wasn't. If you had somebody that was on a fire department before, would they have to go through all the training?
No, if they have already,
Done that?
they
would.
actually have preference points through the interview process and all that, if they completed that.
Who's the last one?
Nathan Otten.
Nathan. Okay.
Nathan who?
Well, very good. Congratulations to those guys.
Yeah, they're
That's great.
doing a great job. It's, I'm happy for them that they're done with their training. It's a long process. So it's a big commitment, so they can just move on with
Okay.
life as a firefighter.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to,
I'll make the motion to change the probation, from probationary status to full-time, or non-probationary firefighters.
I second that.
motion been made by Lynn and seconded by Jackie to move the 5 new firemen off of probationary status into full members. All in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously. Anything else, Chris?
Just a couple updates. We do have our controlled burn this Saturday. We're burning a house. So that will be good training for the
Out of town?
new members. Yeah, it's all east of last year.
Okay.
So we've got that going on this weekend, and then just an update on the building remodel project on the outside. The contractor I talked to earlier this week, or end of last week, and he is planning on starting on that project within a week here, so we'll be getting that taken care of too.
Okay, good.
Other than that, that's all I got.
Is there any reason we would want to burn the new land again down there? I know you guys did it that first year we had it. We missed last year. I don't know if it was because of the weather or why, but is there any reason we want to do that again?
I kind of talked about it, Bob Tremblay and I kind of talked about it a little bit, really burning it every year isn't really the answer either. If it's time to start doing something with it,
Then maybe.
we start mowing it or doing something.
Well, we'd
like
have-
that, but just burning it every year
I
isn't
think
really.
he's
We have part of it.
the part area where
Yeah.
they do camping and stuff.
And part of it for driving range area, so.
Driving range.
Yeah.
Where they picked the names?
Well, we got an area that's kind of miniature, not miniature little driving range, but a little driving range for like the high school kids and stuff. to use.
Okay.
Won't be ready this spring, unfortunately, but,
Oh, I
Yeah,
think
so
I
we
saw
will-
where that was tilted up last year.
yeah. So there'd be areas where we couldn't burn.
Yeah, and I had one resident that contacted me last spring about having it burned just along their property back there because they wanted it cleaned up or for fire prevention type measures too. And at that time I told them, it's not really something that the department does, is to just go out burning anything that borders city property. You can't take that on either. So
Will you come pull all my thistles out though then there? Grow right there?
I've talked to Public Works about that.
They get big.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. So, and those are some things
Leave it right there.
with that land we need to address on the park board and continue to address and starting to get that ready for something. Okay,
All right.
very good, Chris. Appreciate all you guys do.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Nicole?
I guess I don't really have too much to update, just working on workshop stuff, finance committee stuff, public works committee stuff, nothing really major or extreme, so more to come in the near future. Working on the planning and zoning ordinance updating, and
Okay.
it's not too much. Sorry to interrupt though, I just wanted, are you wanting to get on the agenda tonight as well?
Yeah, if I can.
Okay. Are you done, Nicole?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I apologize.
What do you have?
Sorry.
Put him on the
Anyway,
department.
if anybody in the home, man,
Under department head.
Redneck Al. Okay, you're on the department
I
head.
stopped in, yeah, I'm on the department too. I stopped in, talked to Nicole a little bit about your city lots back there. See if I can get some more information on them.
On the
On
industrial
the
park.
industrial park?
Oh, sure, sure.
Anybody don't know, I started Hoysel Road construction 5 years ago. And I'm running a little shop at my house, and I do work with Scott Sayre once in a while, and I was talking to him a little bit, and I thought maybe I might be interested in those lots. And I was kind of seeing what the regulations were, or what the deal was on them, or I had to do the building one. If it was a possibility or what.
If my understanding is correct, correct me if I'm wrong, Nicole, but we have, right now, there's one lot out there that would be available.
Lot number one.
Lot number one, that's corner lot. And then the other lot, there's a lot that Smoothie's Oil has right of first refusal on up until March 31st. And we sent them a letter notifying
No,
them?
we have not. I was
Okay.
waiting to see if he was
Okay.
still interested in that.
So what we would have to do is find out if they wanted to exercise their first right of first refusal. And if they would, then they'd have to build on it in a certain amount of time and follow all the regulations. So that would tell us what we have available. So that's kind of where we would be at.
Okay.
My understanding is your interest is, my understanding is your interest is in the lot that's Swedish have.
Actually, not really. It doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really
No.
matter, okay? Because the other lot's technically available anytime. As long as you know.
Yeah, and how long would you have to build on it? And what would,
It's usually 1 year.
1 year. Yeah.
okay.
So 1 year from when we get the developer's agreement put together.
And typically, I don't know if there's requirements on the building size, Nicole, or anything like
That was
that.
another thing,
or-
like what would this building have for, what would I have to do for a building or what? So what I was kind of thinking was like a 40 by 60 shop.
Yeah, I don't think there's requirements so much on the building size as the building use, okay? Such things as it shouldn't be a retail shop, or it shouldn't be solely a retail shop. Shouldn't be living quarters, those kind of
Yes,
things.
my,
Yeah.
Don't plan on any, right?
no,
Just gonna be there 24 hours a day, working. Yeah.
no, not, I got a shop at home, so it'd be back and forth. I'd run my business out of Pierz rather than my house,
Yeah.
rather type deal. Is what I'm kind of looking at.
So kind of the first step is you express your interest if you want lot number 4 or lot number 1, and then I can go back and we can kind of work out the details and kind of get a tentative business developers agreement, and I'll send it to you and you can kind of review it, see if you've got any issues. And we can kind of move forward.
Yeah, so I was kind of wondering if the building had to be separate or a specific size, or if it had to be in there a special way, or.
It would just be up to planning and zoning when you gotta build.
But I
something
probably won't be able to
online.
build them on here, so they ain't gonna work.
How long before you'd be able to build?
I'd say 2 years. Year and a half to 2 years.
I'll
Okay.
try to work with that.
Yeah, I mean,
You maybe could get first right of refusal on it.
you could do something like that, or
Probably wouldn't be this summer, I'd say it'd be either the following fall or
and
the following
that's
spring.
starting to build, correct?
I
year.
believe so, I'd have to look.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
starting to build, so.
So I actually just got done, I added on my shop at home 3 years ago, and I just finished it out now, so.
Now
And then all of a
build
sudden this
another
come up
one.
and I was like, well, God, I should have did that, if I would have knew a little sooner or knew more about it. But, I am definitely interested, but I said if,
Okay,
I wouldn't be able to build this year, it'd be a year and a half to 2 years.
An option would be the first right of refusal, so I think it's $10 or whatever, and you have that until somebody else expresses interest in
Right.
the lot, and then you have an X amount of time
right.
to act on it.
Yeah, I would suggest coming in and sitting down with Nicole one
Okay.
day.
Otherwise, I have your
next week.
email too, I can
Give her
send
a
you
call,
some
or
more
whatever
information.
works.
So
for you
I'm
guys.
not very good on the computer, but
Oh.
you probably noticed that. I don't even know what I sent you back, but.
That's funny.
Do you have any employees working for you at Al, or what?
Just
do you have?
one, it's just 2 of us now.
Okay.
Wintertime there's more, but just 2 of us.
Okay. Any intentions to grow and possibly employ more people?
Eventually, probably. I got more on my plate that I can handle already. I could use 10 employees, but they're hard to find. Eventually, I'm gonna need another full-time employee, or 2. But time when, I got not a clue.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's what I would do, is stop in and see Nicole one day next week, or in the next couple of weeks, and
Sure.
get it
Give
started.
me next week and I'll gather all that
Yeah.
stuff for you and kind of maybe give you a business development agreement that was tentative of what we've done in the past and go from there.
Okay,
That'll work.
all right,
Thank you very
sir.
much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
You too. Anything else? Anybody have anything else?
Yes, I do. Maybe underneath the Public Works, Parks and Rec.
Okay.
Just want everybody to know we are hiring in the clubhouse. We are looking
Good
for
point.
staff.
Yeah,
And we are posting all over town, within the school. all
What are we
around.
hiring for?
Clubhouse, anything in the clubhouse, cooks, waitresses, bartenders, you name it.
yeah.
It's typically been tough to get those type of people.
And Amy is
Every
doing, a
year.
job. She's doing a job fair on Wednesday in Little Falls. So we've got the banner in for the Legion Ballpark. She's gonna use that first for Wednesday and then give it to the Legion Ballpark to hang up. And that'd be a nice little
Applications
advertisement.
online?
Online on our website, we've got them posted on Facebook.
Do we have any idea what starting rates are roughly, Nicole, or a range, any?
I would say anywhere, we have to go more than minimum wage, so it's gotta be anywhere from $10 to $11.
It could be in that 10-50 range.
Yeah, have you guys had
We
any
had, yeah.
discussions down
I think it was
about
10 or
that?
10.50,
Yeah, between 10 and 10.50.
Yeah.
so. Yeah, and if anybody knows of anybody, send them down. We need several. So,
Yes,
I probably might have a few people.
yes.
send
Is there
them
an age
down,
requirement?
send them over.
We bumped the age requirement from 18 to 16. 16-year-olds, they cannot handle anything with alcohol, but at 18 they can. But if we have somebody who's 16, they can do cooking, cleaning, they can do the waitressing, but they just
Sometimes on
can't
early
touch the
shift.
alcohol.
Handling the phone and things of that
They
nature.
can maybe do
They
the
would be
mornings.
working with an adult,
Mhm.
or
And
with an
it's
18-year-old.
just seasonal.
Yep, it's April to roughly October, and if they have to go back to school, then they have to go back to school. So could be end of May, beginning of June, till end of August or September, whenever school starts.
Do we have any returning staff?
We have one, I believe, maybe two. One's extremely part-time, and one might be full-time, but he's going to school too, so. And then we have Amy, so Amy's
And
back
it's
full-time.
part-time and full-time position?
Mhm.
What about Michelle Harold? Is she gonna cook again or not?
Part-time.
Yeah, she was having some heart issues, health issues.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was dependent on how that went.
Okay, I didn't hear that.
Okay, anything else?
Nope, that should do it.
All right.
Then you're looking for me to make the motion to
Looking for
adjourn.
Donnie's motion.
I second it.
Donnie, motion made by Donnie, seconded by Jackie to adjourn. All in favor, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.